Join with computer audio. All right. Hello. Hello for everyone that's joining me right now. This is before I go live on Facebook, so I am going to take probably 2 to 3 minutes and walk through the process of going live on Facebook, but just be patient with me while I do that because this is about a 2-minute process, and I know I am understanding that it is slightly boring. So I'll try to make it entertaining for you while I log on here. So what happens is I use Zoom to do these webinars. They're a lot of fun, but because it's a third party from Facebook rather than going live directly on Facebook, it takes a hot second to get there. Okay, yeah, I want to share it in a group. My group's name, if you ever want to join us, is Real Estate Agent Sales Success Training. I almost sang it. I always sing it when I do it. Real Estate Agent Sales Success Training. Okay, next. And now we've got to put in our information. It says it's preparing the live stream. So while it does that, I'm going to roll up my sleeves because we're about to get down to business. Oh, goodness, this day. I think those are one more. I was about to say, I think those are equal, but apparently not. Okay. We are talking about today risk reduction. How not to get sued. It's important stuff. Okay. Go live. Going live, going live. Now it says it's going live. And while that happens, what I do is I typically pull up my comments on my phone so that I can keep track of what people are saying so that I can respond to them, which is always a good thing as well. There we go. All right, guys, as you hop on, say hello. Type in the comments if you're here live, hashtag live. If you are on replay, hashtag replay is cool too. Let me turn down my volume so you don't hear me a whole bunch. Here we go. Okay, so we are talking about today, first of all, thank you so much for being 1 hour early with me. I appreciate it. I know my kiddo appreciates it. When I put in there that little Johnny had to have his orthodontia fixed, it's legitimately, my son's name is John, and I call him Johnny, and so that's how that goes. But let me put this down like that. Perfect. Okay, we are going to talk about how not to be sued as a real estate agent today. This is one of my very, very, very favorite trainings from our Key Realty training series. We have a 16, it's either 16 or 17 weeks, I can never remember the exact number, Realtor education series in person in all of our offices throughout the Midwest and then Florida. We do this series, but you guys are joining us along for this ride online, so I figured why in the world not also offer this online? And so last week was business planning. We talked about how to crush your 2019 goals. This week we're integrating the risk reduction, which is, again, how not to be sued as a real estate agent, which is rather important. And it's also something that people don't typically talk about. When we talk about developing a systematic and sustainable business, we like to talk about how do you find clients? And I'm going to tell you the way and the sequential order that these trainings are offered is very intentional because we want to set you up for success for those clients that you're going to serve. So this week, risk reduction, how not to be sued. Seriously, you don't want to be sued. It's not good. Okay. Hey, everyone coming on. Hello. Okay. We're going to dive in. I have to find my presentation. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen with you, and then we're going to find the presentation of where in the world I saved this at. Okay. Share. There we go. All right. I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger there so you can see my face, which is always fun. Okay. Ooh, I got to get into presentation mode though. I wonder if it'll eliminate that if I do. Let's find out together. Hey, I'm still here. Look at that. Check us out. Okay, so like I said, this was taken directly from our Key Realty Realtor education series that we offer in person, but you're online with us in this journey, so now we are online with this in this journey. So, risk reduction. Basically, this is one of the largest financial transactions that your clients will undertake. The majority of them. Some of them are investors and some of them buy and sell and liquidate businesses. But for the majority of your clients, this is going to be their largest financial transaction. This is the most money anybody's ever lent to them. So it can be very litigious because emotions can be very high and because the dollars involved are very high, right? Complex deals, especially if you have a lot of investors, a lot of buyers, a lot of weird stuff happening, a lot of contracts involved, can also be very litigious. Well, hello and welcome, Melissa. And we're in the middle of it all. right? We're coordinating all the pieces. We are the middle person in between the inspector and the pest inspection and the well inspector and the listing side and the buyer side and the everything side and the attorney and the lender and all of it, right? We're smack dab in the middle. And so sometimes when that happens, even if it's an issue with another point in the contract, the fingers get pointed back to us because we've been that middle coordinator all along. It's expensive to defend if you are sued. It's very expensive to defend. It's time consuming and demotivating. We have two agents in our office right now that are going through lawsuits regarding real estate. And even though I personally believe they are not at fault and they personally believe they are not at fault, I'm holding my coffee. I'm about to drink a cup of coffee. But anyways, even though all around us, we know that the circumstances are such that they should prevail, it's still demotivating and it still puts you in a state of crisis and it still messes with your brain space, like all of those things. So it's very, very expensive if you get put in this position, regardless of how you got here. It's expensive, it's extensive, it's brain space messing uppers. So it's not fun. It's just not fun. So that's why we talk about this. Okay. Top reasons for lawsuits, real estate related lawsuits, property management. You as a licensed real estate agent are also able to engage with property management activity if your broker allows that. However, what you don't know is if you watch your parents' house while they go out of town and you are a licensed real estate agent, you are engaging in property management. And if the cat dies or the house floods or the sewer backs up or whatever, you're the property manager at that point. So you are putting yourself in an agency position for property management if you take on responsibility for somebody else's dwelling. Property defects, failure to disclose is a huge reason for lawsuit. Home inspection, that's what a home inspection is for, but they don't catch everything. And we'll talk a little bit about home inspections here in a second. And then the residential property disclosure forms, depending on what state you're in, has a definition of what needs to be disclosed and what documents require that and do that. In Michigan, it's called a residential property disclosure, and it's required to be completed to the best of the seller's knowledge and then signed, giving disclosures of everything that they know about the house, whether they've lived in it or not. It's their best knowledge of the conditions of the house. Hey, Tammy, how are you? And a breach of fiduciary responsibility and duties. So what that looks like is if you become the agent of the deal instead of the agent of the client. You start pushing things through in order to get the commission rather than what's in the best interest of the client. You push the client towards a home that doesn't fit them. You push the client towards a loan or a loan officer that doesn't fit them. Basically, you are doing things for the benefit of yourself rather than for the benefit of your client, which is against the Canon of Ethics. Don't do that. Just don't do that. So these are the top reasons for lawsuits. Okay, quick tips to reduce risk, but first, coffee. Okay, detailed, thorough, and accurate paperwork. We use .loop checklists for almost everything. If you are not a key agent, I would highly, highly, highly encourage you to ask your broker for a checklist of what documents are required for your closing and sales process. Because when you have complete paperwork, your broker checks it over. They're technically responsible for supervising your activities. But when they also check it over, then you have two sets of eyes on something that could be brought up in a court of law later. So accurate, detailed document checklists, and then submit them within 48 hours. That's a key standard. I don't know what it's like at your brokerage, but early and often, I would say. Early, submit your paperwork early so that you're not sitting at the closing waiting for 3 or 4 days later to get paid because they're still sifting through your paperwork. Just turn it in. Just get it out of your hands. We try to run a completely paperless office by having everything through .loop because I don't want to be responsible for maintaining somebody's confidential paperwork and then also keeping records of that for 3 years. It's too much. Maintain your paperwork, turn it into your broker. CYAs and disclose. Any kind of verbal conversation you have with them, follow it up with an email just to recap the conversation. And also so that if you have the record of what your conversation is with that person, you can go back and say, well, I talked to these people on these days about these things if it ever does come up again in a court of law. And this sounds like everyone's going to sue you. I'm just telling you, real estate transactions are very big deals. And they can become very big deals legally if there's a big thing that comes up. You want to control the process, not the decisions. So controlling the process looks like navigating through the ups and downs. It does not mean that you allow your opinion to become the decision for your buyers or sellers, because when that happens, they blame you when something goes wrong. And when that happens, especially if it's the wrong decision, you are then liable for that decision. So how do we want to proceed? A lot of the times, like especially after inspections, and again, we're going to go into inspections here in a hot second, but after inspections, I tell them they have 4 options. Inspections to me is not a time to renegotiate everything. It's really looking for health and safety things that were not found in the initial walkthrough. But again, you set those expectations with your buyers when you talk to them. But I explain to them after inspections, they have 4 options. They can accept it as is and move forward. They can ask for a repair. They can ask for a reduction in price or concessions to cover what they believe the repair is going to be, or they can walk away. Those are their 4 options, and I let them know, and we discuss the pros and cons of each of those according to the buyer's goals, and even according to the seller's goals if you're representing the seller side. But then they have to make the decision. You cannot make it for them. And then they ask, if they ask that, you say, it has to be your decision. I'm sorry. That's it. Okay. Excuse me. Hey, Sarah, how are you? Seller net sheets with all offers. The biggest way to have an issue with a seller, especially again when net proceeds are involved, is to not talk to them about all of their closing costs. You want to make sure they know if they've agreed to concessions, that doesn't mean that your commission is going to pay for concessions. It means that you have a commission, you have closing costs, and then also you're taking on some of the buyer's closing costs with concessions. You want a full picture for the sellers of exactly what to expect. Same thing with buyers. The lender should be providing a sheet of what to expect for closing costs, but I would also put one together for my own benefit too and present that to them just so they know what to expect. Chris Coddington and Terry Duncan, how in the world are you two? There's an example here. First American is a national title company. I would work with them because in their app, they have the My First AM app. It has a net sheet right there and it's attached to the property and you can select buyer or seller on there. It takes the guesswork out of trying to figure this out. It's just right in the app. So check with your First American rep about that. I don't have a joint venture with First American and I don't benefit from telling you that. I'm just telling you that's what I use. Okay, contracts. Read the contract line by line. Hold on 1 second, back up. If you have never read the purchase agreement all the way through, whatever standard purchase agreement you use in your area, you need to do that so you know how in the world to talk about it with them. But review those items by item so they know exactly what they're agreeing to. Attend board classes and key classes. This is a key class, so just keep coming to Tuesdays with Tiffany and you'll get all your key classes in. But also just the board classes. Our board offers a lot of really good, insightful classes, safety related, MLS related, ethics and professionalism classes, leadership classes, tons of classes. So get involved at the board level so that you know how to operate within your realtor board. Double check everything before submission. I had one time, you guys, appliances. Do you see my face right now? Appliances and additional items to be included that are personal property on a purchase agreement are probably the biggest source of confusion for contracts. I had on there the seller to leave refrigerator, stone, dishwasher, and microwave at the house on blah, blah, blah date at no additional cost. I put stone. They didn't have to leave the stove. They could have left whatever stone was in their driveway. Double check what you got going on. It never hurts to take an extra 5 minutes and double check. Even in a very tight market, double check what you've written and verify the timeline and the exact email addresses, the exact dates. Let them know. What I find very helpful is if you have a lender that you work with a lot and they have their own specific timelines for things, like it's 7 days till we order the appraisal, it's an additional 3 days for disclosing, whatever it is. You can also schedule those as follow-ups with your lender on those dates to make sure that they're, whatever lender you refer often, to make sure that they are doing those things, and then you can call and email with check-ins for your buyer. That's a way to have really good communication between all parties. Excuse me, I keep thinking I'm going to sneeze and then I don't. The other thing is on contracts, title companies. If ever you get something from a party involved with the transaction and you have no idea what you need to do with it, just say that. Say, what would you like me to do with this information? Just respond back, because a lot of times it's just informational purposes. But if you call or you email back and say, what would you like me to do with this information? Or what do I need to do with this information? Or what should I be looking for in here? Point me to what I need to know. That's a way to develop rapport with that vendor, but also to make sure you're not missing anything on the contract. Why does your video keep stopping? That's a bummer. Hold on. My video keeps stopping, and is everyone's doing the same? Shannon's is lagging too. What's happening here? I'm going to count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Did that lag for you guys? Tell me everything. Is it lagging? I need to know. Well, your comments are delayed, so I know that one for sure. I'm going to keep going until somebody tells me if this is lagging or not, and I really hope. Okay, Taryn says hers is fine. I wonder, I'm going to keep going because I'm not seeing an issue with my video recording, so maybe it'll be fine on the replay. If not, we'll do this again. We'll just have some more fun again. Okay, errors and omissions insurance. So you, as a real estate agent, have errors and omissions insurance provided through your broker. You may pay a little cost for it. You may pay a lot of cost for it. I don't know what your situation is with your errors and omissions insurance, but you have it. Ours is a $2,500 deductible. And so if you get sued, there is a $2,500 deductible that you're involved with as a part of that. And so there is a way, though, with the home warranty companies that we see, it may be on my end, okay, that you can get a 0 deductible, but it has to include these 4 items. A board-approved purchase agreement contract, a home warranty. If your clients do not get a home warranty, they still fill out all of the home warranty information and then just check the waived box instead of the sign for application box. So check the waive box, sign that you're waiving it, but still have that and still submit it to the home warranty company. A inspection, and then the fully executed property disclosure form signed by both parties. If you have all 4 of those items, America's preferred home warranty company will cover your deductible instead of being $2,500 if there's a suit involved with that property. So that is a way to cover yourself and then also to verify that everything's getting done on time and in the proper way. But you have to have those 4 components as a part of the purchase agreement. Okay, client protection. When are you in contract? When you deliver it, right? The easiest thing to forget is the very last set of initials and signatures because you're so pumped, right? You're so pumped about moving forward to the next section that sometimes we forget initials or signatures. And again, if you turn in your paperwork early to your broker, keys, policies within 48 hours, but if you turn in your paperwork early to your broker, they can review that so you're not trying to play catch up after something has already closed. Because the best time to get paperwork from somebody is before they close. That's the very, very, very best time because they're anxious to close, and if this stops the process, they are going to make sure they address it. Afterwards, it can be very difficult. Biggest problem with the Realtor board is earnest money disputes. Earnest money disputes are quite, yes, Shannon, if I'm going to go back to that slide. In this conversation, yes, if you fill out all of the home warranty information and they waive it, they still sign that they waive it and then send it to the home warranty company, that home warranty company will still pay for your deductible if you're sued as a part of that. Okay. Earnest money deposits, you guys. Huge, huge, huge. Do you get an earnest money deposit back if your client walks during the inspection period? Maybe. Do you get it back if the financing falls through? Maybe. But for our board, it can be up to 2 years if there's a dispute, even if you're not in the wrong for the earnest money dispute if the contract dissolves. It's a matter of interpretation of it and what specifically was in the contract for resolution, because we always have to go back to the contract first. If they walk away for inspections, we're going to default to the contract that they had an inspection contingency in there for 10 days where they could walk. But if there's some extenuating circumstances that need to be involved, then that's an issue. So that's probably the biggest issue is earnest money. So don't guarantee your clients that they're going to get their earnest money deposit back if they do something. Let them know that it is likely to happen, but if something does come up where the other side wants to dispute that with you, it could be up to 2 years for a resolution, and that's a long time. And we have a couple of those going on in our office right now, some disputes, and both sides have very valid arguments regarding the disputes. However, now we're up to interpretation. And so that is an attorney's situation. That's not a person practicing real estate situation. So we have to involve attorneys. An attorney review, if your client says, should I have my attorney review this? The answer is yes. And you can always recommend that. They typically are about $400 to review contracts. So worth it. So worth it. And I know you're thinking, my gosh, I don't want attorneys involved with this transaction. I get it, but you also don't want to practice law, right? I totally get it. Attorneys are probably the biggest slowdown for me for the real estate involvement. But they're doing what their clients have paid them to do, protect their investment. It's what it is. It's part of the transaction. All right, let's talk about people that typically sue, what they look like, what they do, how they talk, because here's the deal. Don't take these people on as clients, because if you take those people on as clients, you're giving those clients to your broker as well for contract mediation when issues come up. So, portrait of a plaintiff, someone who envies the material possessions of others and outwardly tells you about it. They constantly talk about the material possessions of others and with a little bit of green in their face when they do it. Someone who feels the world is not fair to them. Someone who tells you about the poor conduct of another professional, such as a doctor or a lawyer. You could be next in line. You are a licensed professional. You are involved with a lot of things that are important to them. Doctors and lawyers are involved with a lot of things that are personal to them too. You don't want to be the next person they're talking bad about. Someone who confides in you and tells you secrets that they shouldn't. It's beyond gossip. Like gossip I don't love anyway, but beyond gossip, they're telling you things that are really, really inappropriate about other people. And if it's not solution-based, there's no reason to talk about it really. Okay. Portraits of a plaintiff, part 2. I think this goes on for 3 or 4 pages actually. Someone in authority that contradicts what you know to be true. There is a difference between saying, this is what I believe it to be and I'm going to find out, and this is what it is. And it's totally wrong. So someone who is in a learning mindset, a growth mindset, in a leadership position will go out and find the answer for you, and you may just have to give them a little bit of time. Someone who sets a boundary that is not necessarily true and or contradicts what you know to be true, not good. Someone who wants to bend the rules to try to get away with something. Someone who is inappropriately angry or frustrated. These folks don't just get angry or frustrated. They get angry or frustrated about things that don't make sense. It's beyond the point of being frustrated with the transaction. It's the hinge is broken on a door, or the contract is taking an extra day, or who do I have to call to yell at to make this thing happen? Like, that's not an appropriate way to conduct business. And that's not somebody that you want to deal with, because if you're 1 hour delayed on something, who are they going to be calling and being inappropriately angry and yelling at? You. The best coping strategy for you is to end the relationship quickly. Again, these folks will be nothing but problems for you. They will take up your brain space. They will mess with your lives, and they are typically the ones that sue other people, sometimes unfoundedly. So don't put yourself through that, please. Just don't. Okay, a cold method. How do you make sure that you are giving the best proper care for your clients? And it's with this. This protects you. This protects your clients. This protects everyone involved with the transaction. A cold. Accounting. Are you doing proper accounting of your time and the contracts and where you're sending them, and making sure that you're doing the net sheet and following along the items there? So accounting. Care. Are you caring for your client? Are you putting their concerns above your own in this? You always have to put the client's interests before your own. That's a fiduciary responsibility. Confidentiality is huge, you guys. Confidentiality is so huge. If a seller gives you permission to tell other people what the offers are in that have been received in hand, totally fine. But you can't disclose that on your own. And you can't say, well, you're not the highest on your own unless the seller is giving you permission to give that. So even that level of confidentiality needs to be maintained. Obedience to the client, as long as it's ethical, to the Canon of Ethics, and legal. Loyalty, you need to be first and foremost their needs, and make sure you disclose anything you are required to disclose to the clients, to the customers. And that is something, if you have questions about what you're required to disclose, go through the board classes regarding that. Number 6 is a pet peeve of mine as well, Shannon. I understand. Okay, personal safety. We are going to take a moment here and talk about personal safety, and I'm going to make my face super big for a second. Look, I'm going to talk more importantly to you. This is something that I feel very strongly about, and not just because I am a woman. I feel very strongly about because this is one of the very, very few industries where we meet people at vacant houses that we may have never met before in our lives. So this is very important that you guys are taking the proper protocol in order to protect yourselves when you're showing houses, when you're engaging with clients. These are things that I do when I even show houses to my parents, okay? I practice them all the time. This is very, very important. Accountability. Who knows where you're going to be at any given time? I have a Google Calendar. I set all of my appointments in there. I make sure that the person I'm meeting is linked in there with their contact information and where I'm meeting them at. And then I have 6 or 7 people that have access to my Google Calendar at all times, and another 5 people that could sign in at any time and see where I was. So Google Calendar is what I use for that. Be aware of your surroundings. Always be aware of your surroundings. When I pull up to the home, I never park in the driveway because I could be blocked in, and I park on the grass or in front of the house or whatever on the street facing the exit, not in towards the cul-de-sac. I go out towards whatever the exit is. So even if I have to come in, turn around, and then park out, I always do that so that I don't get blocked in. The same thing for your awareness when you're inside of the house. You want to keep yourself between the door and your client. So you can allow them to lead you through the home, but always stand behind them so that you can exit. And then the same thing for stairways. If you're going up a stairwell, let them go up first. If you're going down, let them go down first. It's keeping, again, yourself between the client and the exit so that you can make a quick exit if you need to. Keep your keys on you, keep your phone on you. It's very, very, very important. Deterrence, having your cell phone on you is a deterrent. I don't know if any of you have concealed weapon permits. That's a deterrent, obviously. Also, meeting people for the first time in a public place for a buyer or seller consultation rather than just directly meeting them at a house before you've ever met them before is a deterrent because it'll weed people out that are opportunistic. Let your gut guide you. I think you guys can take that one. Make a copy of their driver's license. Make a copy of some form of identification. It is totally okay to do that. Have a secret code. So if you just say, I need to call my husband for a second, you say pineapple or something, they know you're in trouble and to look where you are. And then accessorize. There are lots of wearables now for personal protection. You can definitely do that, as well as a concealed weapons permit if that's something that you're so inclined to do. You see how I made my face big? I'm very serious about this topic, you guys. Be aware, be aware, and practice these things every single time you go out, because practice makes, I know what you're thinking. It's not perfect. Practice makes permanent. When you continue to do these things, it will be a permanent habit and lifestyle for you. Okay. Canon of Ethics, Article 17, follow the spirit of the Canon of Ethics. If you have not read the Canon of Ethics since you have been Code of Ethics, Canon of Ethics, since you have become a Realtor member, it's time to go back and reread those. Be the source of the source, such as the home inspector said, the lender said. Here's where we're going to talk about home inspectors, though. Just for a hot second, how are we doing on time? I think we're fine. We have plenty of time. Because I wanted to go down a little tangent, just a smidge of a tangent. If you go to a home inspection, which I know we love going to home inspections, we learn a lot on the home inspections, but if you are there, you need to be very mindful that your presence does not look like you're supervising the home inspector. Because if it looks like you are supervising the home inspector by walking around with them, by asking questions, by pointing out things, did you see this? You then become the supervising entity, and a lot of home inspectors' contracts stop at the amount that they were paid for the home inspection. For example, if something giant comes up, like a herd of wasps, a nest of wasps, I guess is what that would be, live inside the walls, and it wasn't caught from the inspector, and the buyers are going to sue the inspector. Well, the inspector's contract with them states that they can only retrieve back what they paid to the inspector. However, you and I have errors and omissions insurance, which is significantly more. So you have opened up liability to yourself and your broker for supervising the activities of that home inspector. So instead, you can say things like your inspector said. You can choose not to be present at the home inspection and say this is a time between you and your home inspector. In fact, we just covered this in the Week at Key email. If you're a key agent or your lender doesn't go with you to showing, so it's okay to not go to the home inspection and just receive the report, the recommendation. Same thing for well inspection, right? Or if you are there, hang out at the kitchen table, say, I'm here to answer any questions, but this is your time with your inspector. I'm really here to open up the house and to shut it down when we're done. So when you are the source of the source, you're not liable for their activities. You can put an arm's length distance between you and them if something terrible does come up. Accurate and timely records of all transactions. You guys need to be on top of your transaction process. And if you don't know what comes up because you're still a newer agent and maybe you don't have a lot of transactions under your belt, sit down with your broker and say, I need to map out exactly what a transaction looks like. And then build those timelines so that you're sticking to those timelines. And then, guys, don't do property management without your broker's approval. It is the biggest reason for lawsuits related to real estate in this country. Seriously, don't do it. Don't do it without their permission. If you're a property manager, good for you. That's your thing. You have extra insurance for it. If you're a real estate agent and don't typically practice property management, you really, really, really need to be supervised by a broker that specifically specializes in property management. Okay, Canon of Ethics continued. Conduct business as if you were being walked around by the board all day long and they were reviewing your activity. Basically, act with integrity. Never accept something as compensation without a written agreement and to be paid through your broker. That is a Michigan state licensing law. I don't know what it is in your state, but we don't accept compensation except through the broker for real estate related services. And do not give the appearance of practicing law. You can write the contract. You can read the contract. You can explain the contract. You cannot interpret the contract. Don't do it because then you begin practicing law. And you are not paid to practice law. And the second that you do, you start becoming liable for misinterpretation or misrepresentation. And you don't want either of those things. Okay, summary. Use .loop or some kind of system where you can keep electronic records of your files. Use checklists and get the approval process from your broker so that you know what in the world to do and then stick to it. Because you guys are being paid a significant amount of money and your client deserves a quality file. I know that we are all about people work, but we also need to be about paperwork. If you don't have time to keep a clean file, then you need to look into transaction coordinator services. Key has a transaction coordinator. I imagine your broker has a transaction coordinator. If they don't and this is not your skill set, I totally get it. It's not everybody's skill set. Then go out in your marketplace and there are services available for real estate agents for transaction coordinators. Just Google them. Google transaction coordinator, real estate, whatever your city is. Attend training. When you attend training, you continue to hear real life stories and situations from what's happening in your office from your peers, and you can learn from their knowledge and their mistakes sometimes, and then grow from that so that when you encounter that, you know what to do and what happened before. And then always act honestly and put your client's needs first. It's just one of those things. I am all done with that. Do you guys have any questions on that? I went through that rather quickly, but it's, like I said, it's one of my favorite topics because it's something that's not talked about a lot. Risk reduction as a real estate agent is not something that we cover enough. We do spend a lot of time talking about pipeline and lead generation, but I really, really, really feel that this is one of the most important weeks of our training is the risk reduction, because you guys were involved with a lot of money and a lot of people and a lot of different types of people and a lot of emotions and the highs and the lows of real estate buying. And so knowing how to navigate these things are very important. Okay, I will wait another 10 seconds for questions. If you got them, post them below. Otherwise, does anyone have a real estate attorney that they recommend? I have a really good contract attorney, Ben Grover. Joe, if you are watching, can you recommend your real estate attorney? And then the other thing, Taryn, you're a key agent, so you can go to keyworld.tv under resources, then corporate resources, and I think there's a section for legal assistance as well. so that can help you. Again, also anybody on here, like I said, I'm a Key Realty broker, and that's our agent dashboard. So if you ever need ideas or assistance or marketing ideas or whatever, you can go to keyworld.tv and check out our agent dashboard. Most of it is unlocked. The only section that is password protected is our education section, which is literally what I'm doing right now with you. So we're sharing it anyway. But keyworld.tv is the agent dashboard. I can't type inspections. They're only responsible for the fee paid. Yes, the majority of inspectors' contracts limit them to liability only in the amount that their fee was paid. That's almost every single inspector contract that I have seen has limited them to that amount for liability. So if you want more information on that, it's inspector specific. Check with the inspectors that you work with most often and ask to see a copy of their contract, because the contract isn't actually with you, it's with your clients. And so most of the time they send the contract directly to your client. So I would read over that if I were you. You can't type inspections. All right. Any other questions? You guys post them below, tag me in them. I am more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And I will see you. We're going to start a new thing on Friday, and I'm excited to see how that goes. So join us Friday for the Backup Brokers coffee and conversations about your real estate business. Talk soon.